we can probably just take this.
Which one? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot. First of all, thanks for the dinner. That was real good. Good that we started with that. Right now we can talk in peace. So anyway, before I start, I know most of you here are electronics, right? Engineering background. I'm not. So how many of you are really looking at software as one of your options, right, when you graduate? That's good. You don't have to just raise just for me. You can say you're really good. But that's good. So what I have here, the agenda is slightly different. Instead of talking about one specific technology or a project, I can talk about that too. But what I thought was to give you an idea of what kind of options or opportunities are out there in the software field, not specific to Oracle. So I'm not recruiting for Oracle or anything, but not from an Oracle point of view, but from a software industry point of view. And I will also go through some of the global trends that I'm exposed to and I'm hearing and listening from my colleagues and reading about it, and so I can share it with you. So hopefully at the end that will give you an idea, right? You can digest it and start thinking about it if you are interested in the software field. So this is the agenda, I just put it up in there. This is more complicated than what I So this is my profile. Once again, the reason why I put it in here, not look for a job or anything, but the reason I put it in here just to show that, I've been in Oracle for a long time. Right? I started in 1995 as a consultant. I used to live in Bay Area, and then I moved to Austin in 2012. But the idea of putting the slide here is to show all the different line of work or line of exposure you can get, that I got. And many, like me, I'm not unique. Many people who work in the industry for so long will have a typical type of profile, right? I happen to have it within Oracle, but most of them probably will have it in 3 or 4 different companies they move. But the main thing I want to show here is that, look, I started from consulting, but right now I'm doing cloud operation, which has nothing to do with what I did when I started. So that's one thing in software industry is that it doesn't matter how you get in. There are always ways you can transfer your skills and then move on to different roles within the software industry. I'm saying that because I talk to a lot of students, they always tell me that, I like software industry, but I hate programming. I don't want to be a programmer. So I tell them that's okay, right? It's like getting into a stadium, right? It doesn't matter which gate you go in. As long as you know where you want to be, you can find the direction. See, that's the key you need to remember, right? Don't think that if you start with Java programming, that's it. That's the end of, that's all you're going to do. That's not true. Like I did a lot of programming when I was in consulting. Now I don't even do any programming. I do completely different. But I was able to transfer the skills. So that's something I will walk through. So I just put the slide in here just to show how globalized distributed workforce has become more commonplace. Right? I work in Austin. My VP is in California. I have a team in California, and I have a team in India, and I have a team in New York. And I'm alone in Austin, right? And I hired people in California. I've never met them. It's all on the phone, right? I'm going to go in August. I'll meet them for the first time, but they've been in my team for 2 years. So this is also a workforce. This is the way it is nowadays in mid to large companies. It's all globalized. So this is also important because you need to also adjust this mindset. Right? You have to be always on conference call, on email, on Slack channel. So your communication method, your thought process has to change. So it's not like you can just walk on the hallway and run into your VP or manager and discuss an idea. It's not like that. You need to call, and you cannot keep calling 10 times a day. So you need to kind of plan your action, right? You need to put your thoughts together, be crisp when you talk to your VP or managers. So I just want to put this slide to tell you to kind of be prepared for this type of a workforce when you get up. Right? Especially coming from UT, you'll probably end up in some big top-notch companies. So they may have workforce like this. So I put this slide because I'm in ERP. My background is ERP. So how many of you have heard about ERP in software? That's good. That's perfect. That's great. 2 is really good. So it's enterprise resource planning, right? So what this is? This is a business software. So every business uses some form of ERP. I mean, some large companies like GE, they use a lot of ERP system because they have manufacturing, they have procurement, they have sales, they have HR, payroll. So ERP is nothing but a complete end-to-end business software. It's enterprise resource planning. So you have different modules like supply chain engineering, HR, payroll, finance, CRM, you have security, you have project management, purchasing, everything. So if you are in software development and if you happen to choose business application, right, you will most probably be either in an ERP software company or in some modules that is connected to ERP, right? For example, you could be in a startup who specialize in invoicing, right? They may do account receivables, account payables, invoicing. Or you could be in a company, they may just specialize in logistics and warehouse management, right? So, but they do warehouse management end to end. They're really good at it, but that's all they focus on. And that will in turn tie to a larger ERP system. But that company may not be developing ERP, but they may be just working on some module within ERP. So if you end up in business software, most probably you will be doing something connected to this, right? Mostly it will be like that. If the commercial businesses softwares are typically connected to ERP. So Oracle has large ERP software, and there are others too, but Oracle is pretty large. We are on the cloud. So we have been having ERP software for a very long time. So right now we are fully on cloud. So it's called the Fusion ERP, and that's the group I work for. So before I go to the industry options, opportunity, any questions so far? Anything that you want to ask? You all have to have some questions in there. I prepared so much for this slide. You better line up some questions. See, these are some of the options. I have 2-3 slides on this, but I talk about the different options or opportunities that you can look or you can probably plan for, right? Or you can maybe apply for, or you can think about that what interests you. So for example, consulting services is a great line to go in. That's how I started. It's slightly easier to get in consulting services because there's a lot of consulting companies out there, and then they always need of engineers, right? Because as and when they get projects, they can place engineers. So consulting is always slightly easier to get in. So you will see a lot of fresh graduates many times moving into consulting role. But the main thing in consulting you need to remember is obviously you need to be ready for travel. So even if the consulting companies promise you local projects, right? Don't believe it. There's nothing called local projects. It's always travel. Because let's say you're on a bench waiting for a project for 2 weeks, your manager is going to come and ask, okay, there's a project in Oklahoma, maybe you should look at it, you cannot be sitting here, So don't believe local project, right? It's always travel, so you need to be ready for it. And like I said, end of the day, you need to be billable. The reason I say that is because you could be a top-notch, Java architect, you could be working on a project for a year, let's say in NASA, right? You come back, after the project is done, you come back to your office, you're all feeling great, everybody treats you great, you're from NASA, etc. And after 2 weeks, if you have not placed on a project, they don't care. You work in NASA or anything, they don't care. Now they're going to start thinking about, okay, when are you going to become billable? Right? When are you going to get the next project? That means you may have to be ready to take a project that you may not like, but you have to take it. Because you cannot be just sitting and waiting for the perfect project to come. Because the only way consulting companies make money is when you are billable. Right? They don't sell any product. They sell services and they charge a billing rate, an hourly rate for the consultants they place. So if you end up in consulting, always sympathize with your manager. Right? When your manager says you need to take a project you don't like, don't think that manager is out to get you, right? That's not true. The manager is under a lot of pressure to make up the revenue, so you need to understand that. So if you want to go to consulting, be flexible, right? They would like to work with you, but you have to be flexible. But it's a great way to start because it provides a pathway to product development, right? IT support. I know that because that's how I moved into ERP development from consulting, right? When I started consulting, I was doing custom development, right? I was in Lawrence Livermore lab developing account management system, nothing to do with ERP in the entirety. I was doing one small part of it. But then I learned the tools, I learned the software development cycle, so that helped me to move into product development role. So that's one thing. So let's say you get a consulting job, but if you're really interested in product development, take it. Take the consulting job, and you can always transfer the skills and move into product development. Right? It doesn't mean that you're going to end up in consulting forever. It's just a start, but you can transfer the skills very easily. So that's a good way to start. Then let's say you get into software development. Like I say, there are many development platforms, right? Middleware, you have mobile apps, you have database, you have storage, you have internalization. There's a lot of software development platforms out there. So depending on what your interest is. But I like business applications, so I moved into that. But many of my friends went into Oracle middleware, so they do a lot of WebLogic server, a lot of the cloud infrastructure, and many of my friends moved to RDBMS, database sites, so they do a lot of development on database. People don't think about it. Database is also being developed, right? If you're going to install Oracle database, that is also a product that somebody is developing. So they write C, C++ code for it. So there's a lot of programming that goes on, but it's systems programming. It's low-level coding, but it's still programming. But it's a different type of development, but a lot of options in development, right? So what I'm saying is that now with the cloud systems exploding, the software development model is also changing a lot. It's becoming more of a service now. Even though you develop a product, your mindset has to now change as a service because you're actually now providing a service to your customer. Because let's say you are using, for example, Microsoft Word on a cloud, right? So you're not really buying a product. You're actually buying a service from Microsoft to use the cloud. So somebody who's developing the Microsoft Word software has to now start thinking like a service company too. So that's something we're all going through, right? If you're going to sell products, if you're going to work in a cloud-based software industry, you need to start thinking that it's more of a service. So that will help you a lot. Another thing I say is learn to see the big picture. What I mean by here is, if you go into software development, you'll start, let's say you start as a programmer, which is great. First 1 year, 6 months, you do what you're told, right? Do a good job, get your footing in. But after that, you need to slowly learn to take a back step, right? And start looking at a big picture, even when you're developing software, meaning learn to develop solutions, right? Not a great feature. You need to provide solution that meets the requirement. So if you want to be in software development and if you want to grow into an architect or if you want to grow into even managerial role, right from the young age, get into the system of looking at the big picture. So for example, let's say you are designing a software and the requirement is to import 1 million invoice lines in an hour. And let's say that's the requirement. And then let's say if you design that software, let's say you come up with a great UI with Java Web Services, you have business intelligence, you have all kinds of interfaces going, flying everywhere, you have a great looking UI, that's great. And then let's say you submit all the parameters you want and then you kickstart the job. And then let's say it's only importing 600,000 records an hour. Now you have a great feature which looks good, it works functionally correct, but you have not met the customer's requirement. Right? The customer's requirement is to import 1 million records an hour. But you have designed a software which looks great, your log messages are good, everything is great, but it doesn't meet the customer requirement. Right? So you have not designed a solution, you have designed a feature, not a solution. So right from young age, when you start in development, start thinking about this, right? So in that scenario, what you should have done is first look at the database, right? Because you're now going to work with data. If you're going to import 1 million records an hour, obviously your data structure, you need to understand how the data is stored in the DB, how are you going to select the data first to process them, and how are you going to insert the data into the DB, because that's where the bottleneck is going to be. The UI is not the bottleneck, right? The UI is just to start the job, but the actual processing is going on in the background. So that's where your bottleneck is. But if you don't focus there and you just focus on developing this great looking UI because you love Java programming, it's not going to help. So always remember, right, understand what the requirement is and then design for the requirement. And that's something you need to start building in right from the young age. If you do that, you can develop into an excellent architect. Because I work with a lot of great architects in Oracle, and what I really like with them is they're not just good technically, they're not just good technology-wise, but they can look at the big picture. If I bring my solution to them, they'll tell me, oh Rajesh, did you think about this integration with, with planning system? Did you think about this integration with this third party? You may run into this problem. They can look at this bottlenecks ahead of time. Because right from young age, they're used to looking at the big picture, right? So that comes automatic to them. So they're developing excellent architects, right? Because you need to look at the complete picture. So if you're going to be in software development, make sure to remember that, right? And also understand the development lifecycle methodology too. Because when I started, it used to be all waterfall methodology, meaning you first work on requirement, then you work on functional design, then technical design, then you develop, then you do unit testing, then you do take it to production and then release the software. That's a standard waterfall model. But nowadays, because of cloud, we are all fully into the Scrum Agile methodology, right? Where it's continuous development. Every 3 months, you need to release a new feature. So you cannot sit and design for 3 months and then write technical design for 3 months. No, you need to keep, it's a short-term release cycle. So you need to also understand the methodology, understand why the methodology is evolved that way, right? So don't just blindly follow it. What I'm saying is, don't blindly do it because you are told to do. Right? Right from the young age, understand the big picture, right? Understand the methodology behind it. Understand why we release in 3 months, right? Instead of 6 months. Talk to your managers, ask them, right? Set up a meeting with them and ask them, why do we have continuous release? Why can't we release in 6 months? Right? Why do we have to release every 3 months? They will explain to you why do you have to release the software every 3 months. Right? So that's one thing. I think development has split into new release and sustaining engineering because, like for example, if you join a big company, many times they'll have a development team who normally does development on new release, and they'll have another team who typically may provide support on existing release to customers. So they'll work on enhancements, product improvements, whereas another team will work on future release. So typically there are 2 separate divisions of development. So, but my point is, don't worry. Even if you go into support role, don't think that you're always going to be behind technology. That's not true, right? Because you'll always catch up pretty fast sooner than you think. You'll start working on new technology too. Maybe probably a little behind the development team, but you'll always catch up. But the advantage of if you join a support team is that if at all you're interested in going into consulting or even sales consulting, then in my experience, I've seen a lot of my friends who used to work in sustaining engineering, they all moved to sales consulting. Right? So sales consulting is another job where you don't actually sell, but you work with your sales team on demo, you work with the sales team on coming up with a solution that the customer wants, so that the sales team can put together a solution for the customer. So you help sales team with that. So I've seen a lot of my friends who work with the support, the sustaining engineering, they moved to that compared to development. A lot of my friends moved to sales consulting. They told me that they experienced the sustaining engineering team help them in sales consulting. So if at all you're interested in sales consulting, this is another way you can get to sales consulting through sustaining engineering, right? So it's another pathway. So that's another thing. And startup e-commerce, this is like Amazon.com, etc. Right? It's typically fast-paced. You need to know Agile, right? You need to, if at all you're interested in e-commerce, startup kind of a job, when you're in college, make sure you read about Agile development methodology. If you have some time, I know UT has a certification course on Scrum Master, try to do that. That can really look good on your resume, right? If you are a certified Scrum Master, it's really, really good. Because all the startup companies are heavy on Agile development, right? Meaning continuous development. So you need to know that. Once again, startup is good, but it's not for everyone, right? I mean, a lot of young people do go to startup, but if you are somebody, let's say if you are someone who is good at multitasking, juggling things, and if you can get everything done, startup is good. But if you are somebody who is strong technically, but if you like a more organized, more structural environment, then startup, you can still try it, but you may not enjoy that much, right? Because startup typically is not like that, because they don't have the bandwidth to provide you a structured environment. It's on the go, right? They're also growing, so you need to do different things. So you need to be somebody who can do that, right? If you're not that type, who doesn't like doing 10 different things, every day you come, the role changes. If you're not like that, then startup you can try, but you will need to adjust to that, right? You need to kind of learn. For some people, startup comes natural, because they're always like that. They can do 10 different things at the same time. But for them, startup is really good. It's a lot more complex. Okay, so this is another thing you can look for, right? For example, there are a lot of companies like Chase Bank, there are a lot of large companies, manufacturing companies, or GM, for example, they have a big innovation hub on Parma Avenue. So they are non-software companies, but they do a lot of software work. So it used to be that when I first started, those companies were typically on the IT support operations most of the time, but nowadays, many of those companies like Chase Bank or Wells Fargo, they are not software development companies, but they have a small R&D center, right? So they do a lot of innovative development even there. So that's one option you can really, really look for. The advantage of that, if you join, let's say you get a job in, I'm just making it a Wells Fargo, right? So you're joining the tech team. But if you really want to go into consulting, or if you really want to go into sales consulting or even product development, you can join those companies. The advantage of that is, let's say Wells Fargo is implementing an ERP. You'll be part of the team who's implementing the ERP, right? So instead of developing the ERP software, now you'll be on the tech team who's implementing the ERP for Wells Fargo. So what that gives you is, it gives you an end user point of view. So that's something that you can transfer that skills. That's a skill that I don't have, right? Because I don't implement, right? I develop and then I manage the operations, but I don't implement. So let's say if I was working in a company who's using Oracle ERP, then I'll be looking at my software from the other side. So that's a great skill you can bring back to Oracle. So you can come and say to Oracle, look, I've been in a company which uses Oracle ERP, I've implemented it, I've enhanced it, so I know the product from another side. So I want to join Oracle. Maybe you want to be a product manager, and you can say, I have technology background and I have some certifications on functional role. Now I want to be a product manager. And your selling point could be that you have been on the implementation team in Wells Fargo, right, for example. So I'm just saying that's another way of getting to where you want to go. Even though you may not start there, you can still transfer your skills and move. Right, so that's another way you can do that. So that's good. And it will also give you good exposure to IT budgeting. That's good. And consulting teams like a lot. Right? So consulting companies, they always like people who are more than development company, they always like people who have worked in the implementation team. Right? Consulting companies always like, if you work for a company who has implemented an ERP system, for example, they would like to hire you because they know that they can easily place you on a project, right? So you're more billable for them. So it's very easy to go to consulting if you join a non-product software companies and implement the software. That's something to think about. You can also go as a DBA, but if you are in DBA, you need to like data, right? You have to enjoy working with data. Massive amount of data, you need to enjoy performance tuning, you need to enjoy working with, people don't realize this, right? You need to also work with development teams a lot, right? If you're a DBA, you're not just going to be in a vacuum. You will work with development teams. Like in Oracle, we have a DBA team, I work with them all the time. Because let's say if the customer has a performance requirement, then we work with development to decide whether, maybe do we need to partition the table or create an index, right? I'm just getting technical here, but just giving an example. So if you want to be in DBA, first of all, you need to like data, you need to be ready for high availability, meaning you have to make sure that everything that we do in business applications, the data is stored somewhere, right? So if you are a DBA, then there's going to be a lot of pressure on you to make sure the data is stored well, the data is scalable, to make sure that you are doing all the DBA activities that helps development too, right? So you need to like data. But the advantage of being in DBA is that, let's say if you want to get into big data analytics, right? You all know big data, right? That's a new global trend going on. So if at all interested in moving to big data, you may not be able to find a big data job right away out of college. You may or you may not. Like I know Cloudera is big, right, in Austin, but you may not directly get in, but you can go and join a company in DBA team, learn about the data, and then get into big data, right? Get a certification in Hadoop, in Cloudera or somewhere, right? Then you build up your resume, then you can get into big data. So that's another way you can transfer your skills as a DBA, and then you end up going into big data analytics if that's where you want to be. So that's another example where you don't have to be a DBA for life, right? You can go into other areas of data management, but you need to like data. If you don't like working with data, don't even go there. Right? If you get bored of looking at data, don't even go, because all they do is look at data. How it's stored, how it's selected, how many lines get inserted in a minute. It's crazy, but it's fascinating if you like it. Customer support team. So this one is interesting. This is technical, but you don't do any programming, right? In customer support, you work with customers all the time. So let's say if you're an Oracle customer support, you work with customers, and the way you work with is that customers will call you and say, hey, I'm trying to implement, let's say, inventory system, and I'm running into this problem. So as a support, you need to work with the customer, trying to see if the problem is, first of all, right, if it is a real problem or not, and help the customer. And if it is a problem that needs to be fixed, then you need to work with development. So customer support is interface between the customer and the development team. So if you join customer support, we hire a lot of engineers in customer support too. So if you want to be in customer support, first of all, it's high pressure, because customers, you have to deal with the customer, and they are paying money for the software, so obviously they need answers right away. And then you have to talk to development, and development will keep pushing you too. They say, why do you keep calling me all the time? Right? So development won't like support calling them, because they know if support calls you, there's going to be some work. So you are in between, so you need to like that kind of management. But customer support is good. Once again, right, I know many of my colleagues in customer support, they moved into consulting, implementation consulting. So let's say you like to implement ERP software, but you start in a customer support team, you can transfer that skill and join a consulting team and implement the software. And your selling point is, look, I work with the customers all the time, I understand how they use, I work with retail customers all the time, for example. I understand how they model the system. So as an implementation team, if I'm part of the implementation team, I can deliver so and so. So you can build your resume and join a company as an implementation consultant, even though you start as a customer support. See, that's another way you can transfer your skills, right? So you can join business analyst. You will find, as a fresh engineer, you will find it tough to get into functional role. So that's going to be harder, because if at all you you need to get some certifications. So let's say if you want to be in supply chain, you may want to look at some certifications in APIX or CPIM, something like that. So as a fresh engineer, you may find it hard to get in as a business analyst. They normally look for somebody with some functional background. UX design, this once again, right, just with engineering may be tough to get into UX design, but I know UT has this consumer psychology, right, as a program. One of my friend's daughter studying consumer psychology, she joined a big UX design company. So nowadays UX design is going through a lot of revolution. Earlier it used to be just UI design. So now UI design, they're trying to apply a lot of consumer psychology on, because they want to see, okay, how do I design the UI so that I can get a lot of users on it, right? Sometimes the UI design can bring users. How many times have you said it's the website is easy to use? Sometimes you say, oh, the website is good, but it's so hard to use. I hate going there, tough to find things. So nowadays, UX design is a great, it's a great part of software development, but there is not much programming on it. So that's another place you can start, right? So let's say if you don't like programming, but if you like software industry, then UX design could be another role. But you may want to brush up on some graphics or some kind of a psychology, kind of a certification. Fresh engineers may be a little hard to get into UX design. I've never hired any fresh engineer in UX design. Most of the people that I've hired for UX design, I already had some experience working on as a functional manager, developing UIs and all that. But I still put it out there as another example. Quality control, here we have a lot of engineers. This is also a good role. Once again, there is no programming in quality control. So what quality control does is they certify the software. So let's say I'm developing a software. My quality control team will need to test my software to make sure that it meets the business needs, make sure that there are no issues, make sure there is no regression, meaning every release should work, at least what I have developed so far should work, right? If I'm going to add some new features, that should not break what I already have. So that's the regression testing. So quality control team is responsible for all that. It's a great team. A lot of people think that quality control is just testing. That's not really true. Quality control works a lot with functional people to come up with test cases, right? Because quality team will also need to come up with test cases. They need to analyze the problems that customers raise and give feedback to development as what can development teams do to reduce a lot of the customer questions that comes from customers. So quality control is a great team, and you can move to functional roles. So remember I said it's tough to get into this product management role. You can get into that role with quality control. I know a lot of my friends in Oracle who started in quality control, and they all are now product managers. The way they sold themselves, because they said, look, I work with product managers a lot, I come with test cases, and they understand the functionality, so they could move to product management. So this is one way you can transfer your skill and go to product manager, starting as QA. So any questions so far on options, opportunity? Or you want to digest it more, I think that's fine. So software technology global trends, right? So what I have here is just to give an idea of all the different trends that's going on that you can capitalize on when you get out and if you want to get into software line. From programming language, Java, JavaScript, Python, C, C++, they will continue to dominate. Trust me, if you know Java, JavaScript, it's a lot more easier to get a job. So if at all you're interested in software industry, don't go out there saying that all I know is quantum computing, right? You're not going to get a job. They'll marvel at your intelligence, but they don't have a job to give you. Because very few companies do quantum computing, right? But Java, if you say, I know Java, I know JavaScript, they'll be interested in talking to you. So if you're interested in software, make sure you get your hands on this. I'm hearing a lot about Rust and Swift. I have not used it. I mean, some of our friends tell me that Rust, they use a lot for systems programming. I'm not a systems guy. But I have my friends who work in HP, they told me that they use Rust a lot, so I don't know. Even Swift is for mobile app. So if you're interested in mobile apps, then you may want to brush up on Swift. That's used a lot in mobile app. So cloud technology will continue to expand. This is true because Oracle software, everything is on cloud now. I am seeing lot of expansion in cloud. So cloud industry, to me in terms of global trend, I will put my money on cloud, right? Because cloud delivery, cloud platform, public cloud is expanding because it's reducing cost for the customers, and there's a lot of benefits for the organizations to move to cloud. So I would really invest in cloud. And main thing here is that, well, what I really like about cloud is it's a two-way street, right? It's like both ways. What I mean by that is, on one side, the tech industry is putting a lot on the cloud. And we are talking to consumers, talking to customers to move their businesses to cloud. Because when they say move, because right now they're on-premise, what that means is they run software on their own hardware, they install software on their premise, They have a huge implementation team, their operations team, so everything they do in-house. But what we tell them is that benefits are moving to cloud, right? Where you don't have to invest all that, you can subscribe to a service in cloud. So that's one way street. Right now, what the customers are saying is, okay, they are moving to cloud. Once they move to cloud, now they have a lot of other options in cloud. They see a lot of other technologies floating around in cloud. So now they come and tell us, okay, now I am in cloud, well, you do 10 different things for me, right? So that's a street. That's what I said, it's a two-way street. So as and when the customers are moving to cloud, they are putting pressure on the industry to innovate, right? Because their needs are changing. Right? So they need different things. So they, for example, they need continuous delivery and they need zero downtime. What do you mean by zero downtime? Let's say every 3 months you have a new release and you're going to patch. You're going to, patch the customer's cloud pod with the new release. They want zero downtime, meaning they want to use the system and you're patching concurrently. Right? So that's the innovation they want you to invest in. And that is making us move into more of a DevOps model, right? What that means is, nowadays even development team is now becoming a bit of an ops model. That earlier in the older days, we used to have development, we used to have operations team, right? So development will release the software, throw it to operation, and it's their responsibility to package and deliver to customer. Now with the cloud model, that's all changing, right? Even development will need to take part in the delivery to customer, right? Because the model is changing. So that's why I really like cloud. I'm fascinated by it. There's a lot of innovations going on in cloud. So to me, in terms of global trend, cloud is a big trend. Big data-based BI, this is also expanding a lot. A lot of companies are investing on big data-based BI. And like I said, right, you want to look at some certifications, big data, Hadoop certifications. I know, because one of my friends used to work with me in Oracle. He got a lot of the certifications and now he works for Apple in that big data, right? So he told me that these certifications really help. So if at all you're interested in getting into big data, even out of college, you want to look at some Hadoop certifications. A lot of companies in Austin, right, who provide the certification, but you may want to look into that. Virtual reality industry is expanding a lot. Unity 3D is the main development framework they use. Right? Virtual reality is the one that you wear and look around, right? They predict that it's going to be a $250 billion industry. Who knows, right? That's the prediction, but there are a lot of companies putting a lot of money into that virtual reality industry, right? So if at all you're interested into that, you may want to get some exposure to Unity 3D. And I've never done it, but I know Unity is used a lot. Docker container technology is also expanding. So what is Docker container, right? So Docker container is this model where everything is contained in a small container. Meaning your software, the hardware you need, the web services, everything is integrated in one small container, right? So nowadays many softwares are being delivered in a container too. So they call it the Docker container technology. So more and more database installations are also delivered in Dockers, right? So if you want to get into this technology, you may want to learn about Golang, that's the Google's, C++, Python, right? So if you're interested in Docker, you may want to brush up on those. Blockchain is also expanding a lot. Even Oracle, a lot of companies have platforms now for blockchain. See, blockchain used to be just the cryptocurrency stuff, right? But now that's how it started, that's how it's popular for. But the technology behind blockchain, which is the distributed ledger technology, that is what they're predicting it's going to be a big change in the marketplace. They're saying that many of the financial transactions, like let's say you get a mortgage, they're saying that all the process can be streamlined by using the distributed ledger technology. So I've never used it, but a lot of predictions are going on this. So this is also something that you could come across, right, when you get out of college. Obviously, AI, machine learning, you all know about it, right? So Google is big into that. Internet of Things, lot of innovation going on Internet of Things. Right? So nowadays we have your car doorbell sending you a message in your app, and you have cars talking to each other. I mean, if you go to California, you see a lot of this driverless cars. People sit there, I mean, they don't touch it, but it's still self-driving cars, if you see in Oracle. A lot of people drive there too, but in California it's very popular. And they are predicting that eventually cars will communicate with each other, so it's all artificial intelligence, right? So that's a huge global trend that's going on. If you want to get into that line, you may want to, Java, Python is always there, but Prolog, Lisp, you may want to get some exposure to Prolog and Lisp kind of languages if you're interested in the AI. So mobile software technology is expanding a lot. And what is expanding the mobile software technology is mobile edge computing, right? So what is edge computing? Is that let's say you take a phone, what they do is that they don't want everything you do on the phone. Let's say you log into the phone. They don't want to communicate to the server sitting somewhere to validate your login and send the results back. They want to do that instantly on the phone. That's called edge computing, meaning moving it to the edge of the network. That's called edge computing. So if you want to get into mobile software, you will have to learn about edge computing. You need to kind of understand the concept. I'm sure there are books available you can do. And in terms of technology, obviously Java, Python, but Cordova development framework. A lot of my friends use Cordova framework. People who work in the mobile technology field. I've never used it, but they told me that Cordova is a good framework they use. You may want to look into that. 3D printing is expanding crazy. Right now HP has come out with this new metal printing. So if you're at all interested in getting into the 3D, that's a big global trend going on. Right? They're getting into metal printing, a lot of other printing that they have not done before. So that's going to, they predict it's going to create a lot of changes in the manufacturing industry. Another global trend is machine vision, right? Robotics. Machine vision is what is self-correcting, right? So they want to use machines to do quality control instead of humans doing it. So they want machines to visualize, take in the data, right? Do some analysis on it and improve it. There's a lot of energy going on there. And then finally, cyber security, biometric. Biometric is a big field that's going on now. Because a lot of people don't want to use passwords anymore, right? Many of the companies are now introducing biometric login, right? So that industry, because of the cloud, because more and more companies are moving to public cloud, the biometric software security is also growing a lot. And there's a lot of innovation, a lot of startups that's happening on this, right? So I'm seeing it in Silicon Valley, a lot of startup going on. So if at all interested in startup and biometric, maybe you can look into it. So that's all I had, and one last slide is preparing for the road ahead. Any questions so far on the trends? How are you all awake? Good. I know it's a lot, that's okay. You can digest it and you can review it later. So preparing for a bright future, right? What I say is that be prepared for a continuous independent learning. Right? That's going to be the new word. Trust me. Because technology is changing a lot and you're in a globalized environment where you need to work with teams in China, in Mexico, in Canada, in the US. You need to collaborate, you need to keep on learning, right? You cannot just stay on one technology for long. So you need to be ready for this continuous learning mindset going forward, right? And what I say is that subscribe and be active to some tech websites if you like software. So a lot of tech websites like Fast Company, Stack Channel, etc., where there is a lot of discussions going on the new trends. So be an active participant, that will help you. And I say that, take risks, you're all in, right? Don't settle down, just take risks when you come out. That will open up a lot of new opportunities, right? Take risk, and networking is very good, but always remember, right, what you bring to the table is more important. What I mean by that is, I know many of my friends, all they do is networking. They are on LinkedIn all the time, they have like 1 million different contacts, but they don't go anywhere. So I ask them, they say, I have all these contacts, but having contacts alone is not going to take you anywhere. That is great, but you need to have the skills to bring to the table, right? They are not going to give you a job on Google just because you are a friend. They're going to ask you, okay, give your resume. How can I help you? So always remember, you focus on your skills, then networking can help, right? So that's something to remember. Another thing is that what I'm saying is don't look for a perfect or a secure job. There's nothing called perfect or a secure job. Right? I've been in Oracle for 25 years. Tomorrow they can fire me. Right? It doesn't matter. It's a business, nothing personal. Right? It's all a business. So there is no secure job. So I know many people say, oh, it's a secure job. Tell them there is nothing called secure job. So don't fall for that secure job, right? Every job is insecure. If you don't do a good job or the business model changes, you're out. And I say continue to explore certifications, right? Java, Epic, CPIM. Certifications help a lot in software development job because certifications will give you an instant knowledge base, right, that you can easily sell. So that's really good. And I say that these two are not connected to software, but this is good, right? Learn about health insurance and all those when you are young. Don't wait till the mid-50s when you have to deal with insurance company. Trust me, it's a nightmare. Learn when you don't need it. You don't need it when you are young, right? So learn about all that. Have a good financial planning when you are young, because when you get into mid-40s, you don't want to be worrying about all that. This is not connected to engineering, but if you do this when you're out of college, trust me, you can do much better down the line, right? And finally, stay connected with your university. And your professors, trust me, they help a lot. Don't just go out and then never turn back. Don't be one of those students who will never come back to university. Come to university, talk to your professors. I know many of my friends in Oracle, they are still ambassadors for University of Southern California, etc. They're always connected and they always volunteer. They say it helps them a lot. So that's something to keep in mind. That's all I had. Good luck and best wishes in software industry. So any questions, or if not, that's all I had, guys. Great, welcome.
Which trend are you most interested in?
In the global trends, you mean?
Yeah.
Cloud. Yeah, because I am in cloud. The reason is I am in cloud operations, right? So I am not in development anymore. I used to do a lot of development, but I am in cloud operations now. So I manage the operation for supply chain product within the ERP. I really like cloud because I see a lot of benefits in cloud for the customers. I like the delivery model. I like the fact that it's forcing us to innovate also, right? My mindset has changed a lot. Now we are in the continuous development model. So I like that concept where every 3 months you have a new release, right? So I like that. So to me, I like cloud. I really enjoy cloud. Plus, we are also adapting to this new technology, like the Internet of Things or the bots, right? So our software will also have to communicate with all this. That's going to, as an operations person, that's going to give me opportunities to learn how to integrate with third-party, software. So I like cloud a lot. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. You can reach me anytime.